Welcome in to DNVR Bets Daily. Not our normal intro graphic, but there you go right there. You can see the records right in front of you. And wow, you can tell that Dre has skyrocketed above 500 because the man absolutely went off last night. A 5-0 night for my man, Andre Simone. Professor Dre, a.k.a. the Math Magician. Mr. Math Magician, how did you do it?
Jokic came through. 3.5 was the over-under. They only allowed 3. That bullpen pulled together. And then amazingly, all those overs hit just barely, but they hit. And they hit kind of early. It wasn't a lot of sweat outs when I looked at these box scores. I will say this. There was this one game, Lions-Twins. If you got in early, you got that at 10.5. That was that final 5th win. If you got in late, that was at 11, which was a push. So that really played a big part as well.
Yeah, I regrettably took the under 10 instead of, it was under 9 instead of the under 3.5. And man, a couple of half-run turns there. I'm a half run away from a 3-0 night myself. I'll take my 2-1 and run with it any night of the week. But almost a perfect night for us. That would have been incredible. If I would have just rode with you, we would have had ourselves a perfect night. But what can you do? Shout out to Eric Jokic. I believe we are undefeated when we bet on him.
He is also undefeated. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I know our guy Chris Hill had a great night as well. So it's a sunny day once again.
Yeah, and Andre, 5-0. That's officially the best night we've ever had in history. So
that's right.
Give you a little round of applause there. Very proud of you. Now all you got to do is back it up with another strong night tonight, and you know what that means. That's heater time. So we still need to create that graphic with Andre on it, because ever since my heater, I haven't even been able to use that.
It's true.
We need to get both faces on the graphic there.
It means both of you.
Oh well.
We're honorary.
Yeah, I speak for both of us then, I guess. So anyways, great night.
Yeah.
Shout out KBO.
Yep. Lining
our pockets once again. And speaking of lining the pockets, some interesting new lines on DraftKings Sportsbook these days. And I want to start by saying that we gave out some advice earlier on this show, and I'm pretty sure that DraftKings had determined that it was too good of advice.
That's right.
Because you go in and you go into DraftKings Sportsbook and you look at the rushing plus receiving yards over under. And they have a guy, Christian McCaffrey, in there set at over 1,900.5. Now, Andre, not long ago on this show, we gave out a DNVR special, which was Phillip, Lindsay, and Austin Eckler total yards versus Christian McCaffrey total yards.
Yep.
Now, the underdogs was the combination, of course. The favorites were the combination, of course. But I think it was 163 minus 163, and we were saying, man, hammer this. Well, DraftKings Sportsbook comes out. They say, hey, we've got Christian McCaffrey at 1,900.5 total yards. We know that those two guys, barring injuries, I'll touch wood, those two guys are going to go over 1,900 total yards. And so I think DraftKings realized, hey, what are we doing over there? Now you can no longer bet on it. So that's why you got to listen to us when we give out a pick on the show. We usually know what we're talking about, and all the movement that we've seen on DraftKings has been towards what we've said. We've yet to see us give out something and it go the other way.
Right.
So make sure you're paying close attention, because there's some great value out there. Now, Christian McCaffrey. Actually, let's just start there. What do you think of Christian McCaffrey, 1,900.5?
That's so interesting because he's gone over that total 2 years in a row. Of course, last year was the just terrific season where he goes over 2,000 total yards. So as we are expecting, DraftKings is also factoring in that you're going to have a bit of a regression, right? New coaching staff, they're planning for the long term. They're not going to overuse them. A lot of this depends on what situation the Panthers are in mid-season, because we can easily see them kind of gently shut McCaffrey down and try to, save their best player who just signed a lucrative extension and, not try to use up all the tread on his tire in kind of a meaningless year in Carolina. And also, we think he's going to make more of a transition to wide receiver, right? Which in this offense makes a lot of sense. You're going to have the back's going to kind of be flexed out the backfield and used as a receiver a lot, like we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire at LSU. And, total yards, if he's used primarily as a receiver, it's hard to reach those kind of total yards and we haven't seen a receiver in history, really. We've seen rare cases of anyone come close to 1,900 yards. All this it's not great value on the on the over, and yet I wouldn't exactly hammer the under either because it's right there, right in that range where it's like, yeah, I could see McCaffrey do this, but I'm not convinced. I don't have strong conviction one way or the other.
So here's the way I'm looking at it. We talked about this when we gave out this first bet in the Colorado running back special. You got a coach there with a very long leash.
Yep.
Matt Rule, longest leash in the NFL other than like Bill Belichick, maybe.
Yeah, maybe longer.
Yeah,
as insane as it sounds.
Ridiculous contract for him. They bring in Joe Brady. They are saying like those two guys are the future in Carolina. We're going to ride with them until the cows come home. So you mentioned that the opportunity or the possibility that they shut down, not fully, but they start to pull back the reins on Christian McCaffrey as maybe they tank for Trevor. Now, signing Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know if they're going to be able to fully tank for Trevor. I think he's a good quarterback. Yeah. But let's say they're 2-7 through 9 games, 3-6 through 9 games. They're going to look at themselves in the mirror and say, what are we doing? Yeah. We cannot give Christian McCaffrey 25-plus touches a game. This is insane. Right. So I like the under here because you combine that possibility with the possibility for injury. Never wish that upon anyone, but it's in there. And the fact that we just don't know what this new coaching staff is going to think of Christian McCaffrey's role. I really think if they're smart, they know that they have to dial him back a little bit. He cannot be the entire offense if you're going to ride him for the next 5-6 years. So I'm on the under there, and you've got to drop off quite a bit from last season, but I just think this coaching staff is going to be a lot smarter about the ways in which they use Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I suppose I could see that. The under is the more comfortable one, but McCaffrey's so good. He could reach. He could get right around there. So yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, I'm not hammering it by any stretch of the mind. Right. Okay, the next one here. This one really interests me. Melvin Gordon, rushing and receiving yards combined over 1,050.5. And it should be noted, let me just make sure I have it here. It should be noted that his rushing yards are set at 775 and a half. 775 rushing yards, 1,050.5 total yards. So they're saying, what is that, 275?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a lot for receiving.
No.
I think he'll go bigger in receiving.
He's always gone over that in his career, aside from his rookie year. Even last year with injuries and stuff, still went for 296 receiving yards, but only 908 total yards. So he was used more in the receiving game than DraftKings is projecting here. Boy, that's an interesting number. That really presumes that he's going to be the guy who gets the primary targets out the backfield in this offense, which we do kind of assume.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking they're too high on rushing yards and too low on the total. And I'm thinking that he's going to be in the ballpark of 400 receiving yards.
Yes.
And so that means to clear this, he's got to get 651 rushing yards.
Right.
And if he doesn't clear that, things are, probably what I think would happen would be that Phillip Lindsay took the starting job right out from underneath him, and he became a third down back.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you that ain't happening, because I think it could happen.
Yes.
But I even think, do you have, maybe you can look this up for me quickly.
Yep.
How many yards did Royce Freeman rush for last year?
Oh, let me look that up. You keep going.
So, and might as well pull up his receiving yards as well, because he ended up being the main kind of receiving back in that offense. But I think he could easily get 600 yards, even as just the second running back in this offense. And I think he's going to get a ton of receiving yards. I think they're going to target the heck out of him. Oh, look at that.
Wow.
We're pulling up the rushing and receiving yards. I can't. Let me lean in real close here.
752 total yards for Royce last year, 496 rushing.
Okay, so that was the number I was more interested in.
Yeah.
As the backup to Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman put up 500 rushing yards.
Yep.
Melvin Gordon is going to eclipse 650 rushing yards.
Yes.
And I also believe he's going to eclipse 400 receiving yards. So there you go. I like the over on this. And that's even me being the person who took Phillip Lindsay and all the props that we had, because let me pull those up quickly. We've got, the Broncos specials. They actually took one off the board, which was touchdowns. Rushing yards, which... Right. So he's got, here you go. You got most rushing attempts in the competition, and that is Phillip Lindsay plus 183, Melvin Gordon minus 230. Whoa. So they think that Melvin Gordon is far and away the favorite to get more attempts, rushing attempts. I also think he's far and away the favorite to get more receiving yards. So that's why I like the over here. I think both of these guys will end up being over 1,000 total yards.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. So you're on board for the over rushing plus receiving and rushing yards, or you're a little more skeptical on the rushing yards for Melvin?
Skeptical on the rushing yards,
okay,
because that's where I think Phillip Lindsay starts stealing his touches away. And that's why I still believe in that plus 183 on Phillip Lindsay to have more rushing. I've said it then. I'll say it again now. I'll say it 100 more times. When Phillip Lindsay gets out on the field, it's really hard to take him off, because he's ripping off 5, 6, 13, maybe a 2 in there. Now he's back to 7. And you're just saying to yourself, man, it's the fourth quarter, and in a close game, we got to keep giving him the ball. We're crazy not to. So I think that, like I said, I think that Melvin could be sub 700 rushing yards and still beat this over-under.
Yeah, I think you've got the math right there. I like that a lot. Now, and geez, revisiting that prop that we created, man, is Phil nice value there. That's really good value at plus 183.
I know. And I mean, look at that. They have Melvin Gordon set at 775.
Yeah.
Phillip Lindsay has never rushed for less than 1,000 yards. Now, he's not a volume rusher, so maybe he can still eclipse 1,000 yards on less carries. I don't think so. I think he really does end up getting more straight carries than Melvin Gordon this season.
It's going to be really interesting to monitor. Okay, sweet. I like that. It's nice that we now have those numbers on Melvin, though. Again, we get to see under the hood at DraftKings. That's always pretty fun. Sometimes it feels like we might have been a little ahead of the curve. Yes, it's true.
Okay, so then going to I guess, do you have a take on the rushing yards over under for Melvin? Were you with me on that one?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're smart to set that line right at 775.5. Man, it's tough because Melvin gets going too in this offense, especially as a receiving back. He's going to see more touches. He's going to be on the field more. I could see him clearing that. I could see him easily getting in the 900 to 1,000 range, and this being a pretty productive rushing attack. Yeah. I don't know. That's a tricky one. I'm not super committed to the under there.
And again, another one of our Broncos specials or DNVR specials that we gave out was Phillip Lindsay rushing yards over Melvin Gordon. And that was one that we were kind of a toss-up on.
Yeah.
But that one's gone as well now. And they have Melvin at 775. It's like, man, is Phillip Lindsay really going to drop off 250 yards this year? I don't think so. I think Phillip Lindsay is going to be in the 900 to 1,100 yards rushing range.
And I think DraftKings, by taking that down, agrees with you and agrees with us. So yeah, I think you're on point there.
Another one where we might have been a little ahead of the curve there. We might have had a little better understanding of the way things were going to work out. Okay, any of these other rushing plus receiving ones that intrigue you?
The rushing plus receiving, I went back and forth with Alvin Kamara, which is right around 1,400 yards. His receiving yards really dipped last year. It's kind of a statistical anomaly. He's had 81 receptions 3 years in a row, but his average yards per reception plummeted last year. So he went from being an almost 800-yard receiving back to a 500-yard receiving back, which is a significant drop-off for a guy as explosive as he is. And I think that trend might kind of continue. So I like the under on Kamara there. I think it's being pumped up a little too high in that 1,400 range based off what he was doing last year.
Yeah, a lot of these are really high, in my opinion.
Yes. But the other one, Le'Veon Bell, I do not like at all.
Where do they have
1,275? I think it's almost the last one on that list.
Yep.
And we went over Le'Veon with the rushing yards when we did this one, when we had the first ones. And I didn't like that either. They added Frank Gore. I saw no improvement in Le'Veon's play from a statistical analysis once Sam Darnold came back around week 6 last year. It's a decent number, 1,275. That'll make you think. But given what that coaching staff, we already know kind of what they think with the drama about the contract and everything that they gave Le'Veon last offseason, the fact that he's kind of dropped off and hasn't been that same special back for a couple years now, and that they added Frank Gore, I really think Le'Veon's a pretty nice under there.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I told I guess we're pretty in line here with the way we were for the rushing yards, because I'm a little weary of Kenyon Drake over 14.25. I don't like that. I'd probably take the under there. I told you about my sleeper Eno Benjamin, who I think could end up stealing carries away from him. I think I do like the over on Saquon Barkley, 16.25.5, but we've actually clashed a little bit on Saquon.
Yeah.
You think he's going to come back? I think he's going to become the entire offense.
You are counting a lot on the Clapper. I'm blanking on the Cowboys' former head coach, who's now their offensive coordinator. I really think Saquon's numbers were benefiting a lot from Pat Shurmur being there and that offensive scheme. Also, Saquon, can he stay healthy for a full 16 games? Will they use him the right way? Yeah, I think if he wasn't in New York, say was playing for the Bills instead of the Giants, you're probably getting that number at like 200 less, and then I like the over. But right there, I think you're paying a big city price there.
Fair enough. One more that I am feeling questionable about. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, over 11.25.5.
Yeah.
Did all the other running backs die?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we forget the should-have-been Super Bowl MVP, Damian Williams, is still there, right?
I presume so.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
Look, I know that there's a lot of yards to go around in that offense,
right.
but Damian Williams is a really good player. I feel like he's being completely disregarded here.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the hype on Clyde Edwards-Helaire has just taken off. I mean, all my Dynasty League drafts that I've been doing in the last couple weeks, he's going like first overall pick.
Yep.
There is a lot of hype about him, and I get it because the promise of what he could do to truly maximize his full potential in that scheme is very enticing. Will it happen year one? Because there's a lot to go around in that offense. He's going to be the fourth option on a favorable personnel set. He might be the fifth or sixth best option on a less favorable personnel set. So, and also, in a win now mode offense, how quickly is he going to see the field and get the touches required to go over 1,100 in total yards from scrimmage? Yeah, that seems like again, you're paying kind of name tag price, and I might hit the under there too.
Yeah, you're paying for the name brand. You got to go find the discount brand.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
Same quality. No difference. Right. Yeah, I'm with you there. Any other things on these new lines that stuck out to you?
Back to the rushing yards where we've added a few more. Boy, I love a good rushing yard prop for quarterbacks. and we've got two good
Mm.
ones. We've got Josh Allen at 525.5. That's slightly over where he was last year. It's slightly under where he was as a rookie. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to get in games in December where he kind of falls apart and relies on his legs more than his arm. And I think this is an over that I like. I won't be hammering it, but I'm intrigued by the over here. You say under.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side here. I think that as they develop Josh Allen, they're going to tell him, hey, man, you remember that hit you took in the playoffs? Like, we cannot afford to have you out there just getting just demolished. We want you to become more of a pocket passer. Look, your legs are great. We want you to use them, but we need you to get where we're going to go, and you got to dial it back a little bit. I think it actually comes back quite a bit, maybe to like 350 in my opinion.
I think that's a talk they have in the offseason, and by week 5, they're like, remember that talk? Forget it. You're the biggest guy we have on offense. Please start running because we need to win games.
That was like when Vance Joseph told Case Keenum, like, you have to stop throwing interceptions. And Keenum was like, cool, yeah, I'm just not going to throw the ball down the field anymore at all. And they were like, hold on. All right, just go ahead and throw interceptions. We can't move the ball if you don't throw it.
Yep, I think that's happening, man. I do like that. That's an offense that's kept their coordinator. It's his 3rd year in that offense. They're adding weapons, which should open up room for him to rush a little more. So I like that. Maybe he'll be more inclined to rush. Lamar Jackson, what's going on here? What's going on? The number is set at
975.5.
My man in 8 games or 7 starts went off for 695 as a rookie. He had 1,200 last year.
I think it's the same effect. They're saying, okay, maybe they're realizing, you're too important to us to be running by it like that. But I'm completely on the other side of things when it comes to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is maybe the most gifted athlete in the entire NFL.
Yep.
And the Ravens have done a great job of recognizing, look, we cannot try to put Lamar Jackson in a box, because if you do, we're putting ourselves in a bad position. We have to just let Lamar Jackson be Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
And look at that MVP season. So I think they actually turn him loose even more this year, and this is an easy over.
And dude, they've added so many weapons who are like coming into their 2nd year or 3rd year. Those guys are just getting better. So again, defenses focusing on those weapons is going to open up space for Lamar. I think that's an easy over. I'll give you an easy under. This is Leonard Fournette at 900.5 yards. I don't think he's even going to be in Jacksonville the whole season, which might benefit this prop bet, actually. His problem is he's an eye back in an offense that wants to be a spread offense with guys like Gardner Minshew and Nick Foles. So he is not a system fit at all. Gruden's brother is coming as the OC. I think he's very competent, but in his history, we haven't seen like bell cow backs get great yardage. He's not a multiple back either, so he's not really seen the field on 3rd down. I think guys like Chris Thompson, who Gruden had in Washington, or LaVisca Chenault, who's kind of a versatile player, a dual threat in a sense, even though he's not a quarterback. We usually say the term dual threat for quarterbacks. He's a dual threat as a runner and receiver. I think he might steal some touches. And again, I don't think he might not even be in Jacksonville long term. So I really like the under for a guy who's often injured anyways.
Yeah, you stole my line there from me, but I was going to say Leonard Fournette isn't even the best power back on the Jags anymore. It's LaVisca. What do you think of Kyler Murray over 475.5?
That is intriguing. Now, Kyler to me feels like a guy who's in year 2, he's going to run less. It's going to be more run to pass. That's what he's designed to do. What did he even rush for last year? 544?
Yep.
So right there, I think that goes down a little.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think the Cardinals could learn a little something from Lamar Jackson winning MVP last year and just say, hey, Kyler, we're going to let you do your thing, man. And he's not going to rush for 1,000 yards like Lamar did. But I think that while Kyler is a completely competent pocket passer and would be still one of the best quarterbacks, I think, eventually from the pocket, I still think that you really put the pressure on defenses when you start letting him run around. And so I think they actually might turn him loose a little bit. I don't think he crushes that number, but I do think he squeaks over it.
That's interesting. One that I like is Raheem Mostert. Am I pronouncing that right? Over 875. He really came along in the second half of last year. You isolate that when he was really started to get clicking. He was on average for a 16-game rate to go for 1,200. Yeah, they have Tevin Coleman. Yeah, Jedrick McKinnon's coming back. That's an offense, though, where they don't care about who has the bigger contract or whatever. They just go with the guy that works. He lit it up in the playoffs. I think he's an easy over there in a run-first offense there in San Francisco.
I like that, too. I mean, really good back. Like, I think he's underrated just because, it used to happen to Broncos backs all the time, right? You get in the Shanahan system, and they just say, like, oh, you're just a Shanahan product, especially when you're an undrafted guy like Mostert or like a Mike Anderson, who I believe is undrafted. And people just say like, oh, it's the Shanahan system. Anyone can run in that. And these guys who are really good running backs kind of lose credit. I think Mostert is one of those guys. Yeah. Okay, Andre, well, we're going to get into our KBO picks, but first, want to give a shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook, which is doing an awesome deal for listeners right now. A $500 sign-up bonus, a $500 first bet match. So you can get up to $1,000 in bonuses, and make sure you enter the code DNVR to get that sign-up bonus only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires a 25x playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, we talk about this a lot, but if you do have a gambling problem, you feel like you're getting a little too deep, call 1-800-522-4700. All right, Dre. 5-0. You're coming on. You're on the verge of a heater. You're on the verge of a heater. A lot of pressure on these picks tonight. What do you got for me?
Yeah, and the heat check is undefeated. So I guess when you take these lines, be careful. Well, just looking at these lines from DraftKings, they think it's a high-scoring night tonight. That's what these pitcher ERAs would suggest. There is not an over-under total in the KBO tonight that is not in double digits. Everything's in that 10 to 11.5 range. And I'm not scared off at all. I'm going across the board KB overs. It's that kind of night.
Overs. Yep. Oh, you've got me tempted, Andre. I mean, the bats have been heating up. Last night, I believe every game was in double digits last night.
Yep.
So there you go. Man, if we can scroll up. Yeah, 7-3, 14-8, 10-0, 7-3. 11-0. So actually, two teams got shut out, and still every game went over. I was going to give 3 overs. I don't know why I would hold back. Let's go. KB over across the board. Bring us the money. Come on, KBO. Let's get the bats hot tonight.
Heck yeah. No, I like it. Across the board, there's not great pitching. If you want to play it more conservative, you could go after just the Giants line to hit the over, because KT Wiz have just a horrendous pitcher tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, you got some good bat lineups here, and I just, I think this is a big one. This is a big night ahead of us, Andre.
New series across the board, so the teams don't know each other too well. I guess the scouting report's not too familiar.
You're reaching.
Yeah, in a 10-league team, that's a reach for sure. But still, I like it. Let's go, man. Let's go.
KB overs across the board. We could be sitting on a heater tomorrow. That's what we're pulling for. Heading into a big weekend too. UFC 251. Is that what it is on Saturday?
250. 250. Yep.
Wow. I cannot wait. So let's get these overs taken care of tonight, and we'll jump into a big weekend for tomorrow. But for now, that's gonna wrap it up for us on DNVR Bets Daily. Good luck, Andre. I'm gonna ride you. I'm gonna ride that heater before it's too late.
Let's hope.
All right. We'll talk to you guys later.